Hello, Michael Swain here after Kansas basketball's 69-67 win over Oklahoma State. And wow, was that a flashback to April? Kansas faces a 15-point deficit at halftime and overcomes it to emerge with a close win to start Big 12 play. And I think this game is so fascinating because I think it just shows how good of a team Kansas has, but also how good of a coach Kansas has. Bill Self talked post-game about the strategy Kansas had going into this game, where Oklahoma State plays with two big men, and they play maybe similarly to Tennessee in that way, where they've got two big guys, they play pretty good defense, and they're going to make you work for your shots. And what Kansas did defensively against Oklahoma State to open the game was they decided to double the post, and it's not something that Bill Self has done a bunch during his time as KU's head coach, but with someone like KJ Adams, who's 6'7", at the 5, you kind of have to find creative ways when you're going to go up against a bigger team, and that's exactly what they did. And so as a result, you saw Kansas go and try and double the post, and that created a lot of pressure on other players to be better. And Self said going into the game they expected, Cisse and Boone to be not good passers, right? That's not what they're known for. And yet in that first half, those guys were passing the ball out of the post, the ball was moving, and as a result, KU was really slow on their rotations. And as a result, you also get more open looks, and so Oklahoma State knocked down 9 first half three-pointers. They entered the game averaging about 6.9 threes per game made, and to do that in the first half was obviously an outlier, but it comes as a result of the game plan. And what did Self do at halftime? He didn't rip into the team. He just said, okay, well, we screwed that up. Let's change it. And they did, and they came out and played with incredible intensity. And it was just like the national title game where Kansas comes out and immediately goes on a run. And I think Kansas played at an intensity and a level that I think they've played at times this season, but to see it against a Big 12 foe, it's probably a little bit different, right? It's different than when you're playing against Seton Hall, right? You're playing against Oklahoma State, which was a team that was picked to, finish in the middle of the Big 12, and they're going to try and compete for a spot in the NCAA tournament. They're a pretty good team. And so I think this was just a game for Kansas where, the matchup maybe wasn't right in the first half, and they tweaked it, and they've got good enough players like Jalen Wilson and KJ Adams and Dwan Harris and guys that can just take over games in the second half. And when you start running with this team, it's really hard to keep up. And I don't think there are very many teams that are going to be able to keep up with Kansas when they're playing at their best, like you saw in the first 10 minutes of the second half. Now, crunch time. This is the first crunch time game Kansas has played since that Thanksgiving tournament in the Bahamas. Wisconsin was the last game that Kansas played where it was within 5 with about 4 minutes to play. And that was a game that came down to the wire, and Bobby Pettiford's last second shot got KU the win. Well, this time it was KJ Adams' shot that got KU the win, and I think Kevin McCullough deserves some credit as well. He makes a 3 to give KU the lead before Bryce Thompson makes a shot, and then obviously his block right there at the end of the game secures the win for Kansas. So KU's streak of opening Big 12 play 1-0, or conference play I should say, because the name has changed over the years, but opening conference play 1-0 continues. KU's not lost a conference opener since 1991. Now, next up for KU is a tough test. They're going to go to Lubbock on Tuesday. They're going to face a really good defensive team in Texas Tech. KU has shown they can win games in tough environments on the road. Now it's a question of, can you play one of the best teams in the country in a tough environment on the road and emerge with a win? So obviously we'll have full coverage of this game for you in the next one. So stay tuned to fog.net for all sorts of KU basketball coverage.